Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to make this video, which is going to be all about wedding recap. And I have a special guest today. You've probably seen her before, is one of my besties, Claudia. Yay! And she got married just about 2 weeks right before I did. So yeah, we're going to be just doing this recap video, and this is a two-parter, so you'll be able to find the other part over on her channel, which we will link down in the description below.
Okay, so we have our tea and our coffee, and we're ready to get comfortable and talk about this whole wedding thing.
So we did do a Facebook Live video, and we just kind of asked some of you guys to give us some suggestions.
I think we both kind of wanted it to give some advice to some of you girls that might have just gotten engaged, and you might be getting really overwhelmed by the amount of information that's coming your way regarding your wedding, what you need to do, the planning, everything. You know, after the euphoria of getting engaged, you really get into the wedding planning, and it can be overwhelming. So maybe we thought we could talk about it. We could talk about our own experiences, because we've had very different weddings.
Very different weddings,
yes. We wanted to discuss those differences and talk about what helped us both. I had a little bit of a bigger wedding, and it was a far more traditional wedding, I guess you could say.
And then I had a more intimate, smaller wedding. We skipped a lot of the tradition, and it was on the beach, versus Claudia's wedding, which was in the Greek Orthodox Church.
If you have friends that are professionals and you want to keep the cost down and the budget down, you have to walk the right line, because you don't want to be disrespectful to what they do professionally and ask for any sort of free service. But you can certainly sit down and have a conversation of, you know, we would really like if you guys participated in our wedding this way. It would be a huge gift to us, and have that conversation and see where it leads. But I think that's a good tip to maybe drive the cost of your wedding down. But just make sure though that they are actually professionals in their field. Do not ask your cousin to take the photos for you the day of. Don't do that.
Maybe the things that you are that aren't like high on your priority list of being like perfect. I think that you can outsource those. One of my best friends, she loves baking, so I had ran the idea by her that I just wanted to do cake pops instead of doing a full-on wedding cake. And she's like, well, I've made them before and I love making them and they're so fun to make. And so she actually took the opportunity to volunteer that. And it's also a great way that you can then say your service and you gifting me something that you love doing is something that holds so much more heart in that moment and in the wedding day.
Yeah, it becomes like a really special transaction, for lack of a better word, but it really does hold so much meaning. And the cake pops turned out bomb. Yeah, they were so good.
The thing is, I had no idea what they were going to look like, you know, or what they were going to be like. I tried them the day before the wedding, so I didn't do any sort of testing or tasting. I just went with the flow, and like some of the things in their wedding day, you really have to just go with the flow.
Yes, for sure. Which, like, you're going to be in wedding planning mode, and I would recommend two things. A, get yourself a schedule, keep yourself as organized as possible, stick to your budget. I mean, the things that you hear over and over again. But the day of, it's really just about going with the flow, because things will go wrong. There's just no avoiding it. It will happen. Yeah. The perfect day, or as you imagined it, I promise you, will not go exactly as planned. So it's better to just be happy the day of, go back to the core values of why you wanted to marry this person to begin with.
Focus on the people that are there the day of.
Exactly. Sure. And then just kind of let it go and enjoy the moment, and hold on to the moment, because it goes by so fast.
Yeah. Do you know if Larry had like a strict schedule?
He did. And so what I did, because I had a bigger wedding and there were more logistical aspects of a bigger wedding, for example. Before I even get to that, let's talk about the importance, the amazingness, I cannot say it enough and stress it enough, that you must have
a day of
wedding coordinator. This is an absolute must, okay? Yes. Because
no matter the size.
No matter the size of your wedding. And most of us have to plan our own weddings, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of details, and it's a lot of stress. And the day of, like I mentioned, you just kind of have to let go, and things happen, and let things happen as they may happen. And that's when the day of wedding coordinator will save the day. So my wedding coordinator, his name is Larry, and he was amazing.
Shout out to Larry.
Woo-hoo. I made this beautiful folder for Larry to have that made things things hopefully easier for him that included all of the arrival times for all of the vendors and all of the contact information for all of the vendors, and it made it useful. And then along those lines, I wanted to mention that it is useful if you can to have the wedding in town, because it will make it that much easier to deal with things as they go wrong. Because like I mentioned, they will.
Ours was in Miami and we live in Orlando. So I would say the biggest struggle was finding the location, because we couldn't just make an appointment and go like that day or the next day or something to just go visit some places. It was much harder because it was 3 hours away. So actually what happened was we found a location. We were going to be, and you know, you think it's so easy having a beach wedding. Well, it's really not that easy, because there's so many permits and things using a public space that come into play. We picked a beach down in Crandon Park, and then we had picked our reception venue in BRIDAL, Miami. Well, about 2 weeks after we picked those locations, had deposits down and everything, Hurricane Irma decides to sweep through the Caribbean, up the coast of Florida, just all of Florida, just hit everything.
We thought we were going to sink.
Yeah. So, and I was actually watching from Orlando how our reception venue was at, the restaurant. It was like under 10 feet of water. So I was like, there goes our reception venue. So, but I'd say the hardest part was finding the beach, because the beaches got so eroded all throughout Florida. And so we had to find a beach sight unseen. We just didn't have time to like take another trip down to South Florida and try to find a place again. We were just going to go with whatever. And my vision had to change, you know. It had to evolve and adapt to what was now available to us. Because before, we wanted to do it under this pretty canopy of palm tree. The beach that we did choose, it actually wound up working out in a meaningful way, because that was actually the first beach that I brought Chris to, and Claudia was there too.
I was there.
So that was actually like one of the first beaches I brought Chris to, and my friends, down in South Florida when they came down with me to visit home.
Say if you are planning on having an away wedding, or a destination wedding, because that's the right term for it.
Yeah.
I think it would be more helpful to you if you kept it small. I think that's good, because things like this will happen, and you know, you kind of have to get married at places that maybe you're not familiar with at all. You've never even seen. So it's best if your party is smaller, and then you guys can be more flexible to accommodate those changes. I think that's just a good tip. If you're having a destination wedding, keep it small.
Small.
All right, well, we're going to stop it here, because I feel like we have been talking now for a long time, and we could probably continue on and on talking about our own experiences, but hopefully you took away some good advice from this video. Hopefully, yeah.
I'd say for just a recap, number one, don't go in depth with your wedding.
Yes.
Figure out the things that are the biggest priorities to you, and put the most focus on those early on into the wedding planning process, so that way you don't wind up not splurging on those when you wish you could have, but all your other money went towards other things you really care about.
For sure.
Number two, if you're DIYing it, go for it, but outsource the big ticket items and the things that you basically do not want to be doing that week of your wedding.
Yeah.
And on that note, definitely hire a day of coordinator.
That's
no matter how big or small your wedding is.
Yeah, day of coordinator, absolute must. We'll make that our tip number 3. And then our tip number 4 is stay in town if you're having a bigger wedding, and if you're having a destination wedding, keep it small.
Exactly.
I think we did good. I think that's good advice, okay? And good luck on your journey towards getting married. It's going to be an interesting one, a lot of ups and downs, but it's going to be very emotional. And we might as well just finish this, or end this video with the question that we probably get asked the most at this point, which is, what does it feel like?
What does it feel like?
or
like, when does it, or has it set in yet?
Has it set in,
that you're a married woman.
And the truth for me, anyway, is that it feels exactly the same.
It feels exactly the same, yeah. Don't hold this one day with so much perfection in your brain, because you have a past before this day with your spouse or fiance, and you have a future. So don't just hold everything about your relationship and all the guests that you have coming to this wedding and all of your family and friends, because you have a past and a future with all of these people in your life that are going to be there that one day, and it's just one day. To me, it's like, evaluate your past, evaluate your future, with all the people that are there that day, and just kind of be like, wow, that is so much more important than this one day. Like that'll put it into perspective for you.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that was very well said.
So thanks so much for watching. I really hope that this was helpful to you and that it was insightful to kind of hear two different sides of the story, coming from a large wedding standpoint to mine, which is a small wedding standpoint. And overall, yeah, this was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. I hope we get to do more videos in the future. I'm sure we will.
Yes, we definitely plan to do more videos in the future, not just wedding related. If you haven't seen the first part of this video, definitely go over to Claudia's channel and check it out. I'll also link it down below. Be sure to subscribe, as she does a lot of lifestyle videos as well.
Yes.
That's about it. Thank you for watching. Bye. Alright, bye guys. See you later.
That was like 30 minutes, but you know.
What if I looked up and it wasn't recording again?
Oh my god. Oh my god.